Hi, everybody. Thank you for that. You sold this? It's listening. Yeah. Went from, hey, do you think we could do this thing to selling out a theater? Pretty good. Um, Jimmy just went to the bathroom, so we'll have to pause. Yeah, well, we're not going to be on pause, but he'll be back. But oh, here he is. We did Vinny Stigma's book release thing here, and he went to the bathroom and got lost. Luckily, I knew it was right there. All right, good. So, couple things. To my immediate left is Kaves from Lordz of Brooklyn. Ew. Next to him is Seth Abrams. Hello. He's an inspiration for the skill. And then to his left is Jimi Hazel from 20%. So, and because this is for Reelabilities, there's a lot of interesting things that I learned from being involved with them. And one of them is in situations like this, they give visual descriptions of themselves. And so in case you can't see me, I'm a very handsome white man. And I've got text on my shirt. I'm wearing jeans and I'm sitting next to Kaves in his classic fedora and all that. So you don't have to do all this. Anyway, but thank you again. And I just wanted to give you a little bit background on how the film came about in the first place. So I was authoring books. I did 10 books. And when Seth was recovering, Seth came to me with the idea of doing Heavy Healing as a book. And so he had begun interviewing people about their ordeals. And we started talking about it. And, he'll tell you about this too, but he wound up having another ordeal in 2019 where he started having seizures and he had a brain infection and it affected his short-term memory. So it was a little harder to approach the book. So we sort of decided that this would be a better film because I think everybody telling their story on camera was more powerful than reading about it in a book. So I want to ask Seth, because I asked him to do this at other panels too, about the circumstances under which you came up with, where you uttered, you can't bring me down for the first time.
So, as you learn in the film, I had an aortic dissection, and I was about to go home, like literally the night before, and something happened between the family packing up my stuff, and we'll see in the morning. And then next morning during the night, I had a stroke on my right side that affected my left side, and I woke next morning with family there and a attending neurosurgeon on the floor. And anyone, I'm sure people here deal with the medical profession. You may be in it, but you've heard, the deal, everything being overly pessimistic and negative and the worst, and not point out any shred of hope or positivity, which I think is totally ludicrous at this point in mankind. However, that's a discussion for another day. So I hadn't said a word yet. They don't know if I can talk overnight. The doctor comes in, family's there. He's never going to walk. He's never going to swallow. He's never going to use his left arm, hand again. First thing I could say, and I hadn't said a word. All I'm thinking is, first words I said post-stroke, you can't bring me down. And I said it without spitting it out, kind of. And that was Suicidal Tendencies lyrics, which is a skateboard analogy. Let me just backtrack and then I'll shut my mouth. So during that night, at some point when I was in ICU, after that night, during post-stroke, music kept going in and out of my head. And you've all been in hospitals, you know how you have drugs in and out of you at different times. You don't know what. I started singing to myself, "Shall I Not Pass the Test," which is Fishbowl lyrics. And some attending nurse happened to come in during the night, weird hospital hours, and change a bed pair to do something. and said, I think you passed the test.
So, hence the use of aggressive music to help recover. By the way, that's Kaves tattooing. Oh, yeah, Seth from 2013. I happened to be there. I was working for Kaves at the time, and I had it filmed on my phone, and I remembered that I had it. And so we decided to use it in film. So,
Perfect.
because
So add to that. Sorry.
I thought you were going to shut up.
No, I was, but now you keep feeding me tangents, goddamn. So this interesting thing that the Cade's work on my arm is just happened to be where the ambulance has the ambulance in Bellevue Hospital. They have the old horse drawn, and the wheel, the vein by that wheel is the only place where I can get my blood checked. That's the only vein that they can get. So I think that's ironic. Now I'm done.
You sure?
No.
I want to talk to Jimmy now. So
Keep going.
So Jimmy, you talk about like men, you even like carve out black men about sort of being reluctant to discuss what's going on with them and like being in touch with themselves medically, emotionally, whatever it is. Were you like, did you sort of just go to the doctor and find this out, or were you like, no, I'm a certain age and I should have a prostate exam? Like, how did that happen where you first found out what was going on?
It kind of started with a back thought of my grandfather. And when I was a kid, I spent summers with my grandparents. He had a complete separate bedroom downstairs in the basement above from his mom, from where he slept with his wife. I used to hang down there because that's where all the records and stuff were. And I used to always see this mason jar. And it had wires in it and liquid. And I was like, it looked like guitar strings in a jar. I was like, he doesn't play guitar. Why does he have that? It turns out, I found out years later, he was self-catheterizing. He had prostate cancer. My dad had prostate cancer as well, but nobody bothered to discuss their situations with me. When I went to get a PSA, insurance wouldn't cover it because at that time you had to be 50 to get a PSA. And if you wanted one, it was considered an elected blood test and you had to pay for it. So I didn't get one. When I finally was able to get one, that's when I found out where I was at, and I was already advanced. So
Get tested.
yeah, it sucks.
It's like Cheryl's.
Thank
So how did you ultimately become aware of your anxiety? Was it gradual? Did you just get hit over the head with it? I mean, I remember sitting in your shop and we would like compare our fucking manic attacks and be like, yeah, mine was shitty last night. But how do you go, I have this, as you called it, a disorder?
Oh, let's give it up to Howie and Seth and Jamie for this incredible movie.
Yeah. Jamie York, who's our puck here that's kind of be here today. He's, I think, 2,400 miles away. They say that was his work is, so he's missing our big moment. But yeah.
I mean, back to what you were saying. I mean, you watch this movie and I'm grateful. I mean, life's a struggle, and we try to make it a beautiful one. The music is what we go for, and we have we've talked about this before. I guess dealing with I guess we go to music and storytelling and deal with our drama and our stress or whatever, our tragedy in our life. And as musicians and artists, we get up there on stage and we give our all to cope with that and hope to inspire the people. I was on stage and I collapsed. I think it was a time when it was like I lost my mother and sister, and I've been through some heavy shit throughout my life, and the dream was always in front of us. The carrot was like, okay, we get a record deal, we'll become famous, and we'll take care of all this, I guess, generational trauma or like whatever life was throwing you, and we as kids we came from like a rough little thing and drinking and whatever way to hide our stresses and anxieties, but it wasn't hiding no more. It was there. I was on stage. I think we were touring with Korn, and it just came upon me. I never knew what it was. It, came out of nowhere, and then it knocked me out. And then I had to fly home from Texas, and I laid on the couch for like 6 months. Felt, what the fuck? Am I dying? And someone help me. But life caught up, and the struggle caught up.
Right.
And there's so many days we deal with on a daily, and today's sunny out, right? So I'm grateful to see you guys here and great to see this movie, and it's always going to be a struggle, but we got to make it beautiful, right?
Yep.
Let's-
out.
Yep.
Seth, how have you adjusted it, become okay with like your physical situation? Like when you realize like this is gonna be me, moving forward, how do you get yourself okay with that?
So it's like anything in life, but amplified 20-fold. You set goals and you readjust goals. My goal, where I was in the hospital and that I achieved, was when they told me you're never going to walk, I said, I'm walking out of here. And I did. And then my goal was to run again because I was a marathon runner. And then eventually I had to be like, you're never going to run again, but you can walk. And then my goal was, okay, it might take me 8 hours. I'll walk a marathon. I don't give a fuck. But then the reality sets in. Not only do you suffer a stroke, your heart is not what it used to be. You have a mechanical valve, and the cardiologist tells you 8 hours is too long. So I had to finally be like, you know what? I can do half. So I've since walked 20, 25 half marathons. Thank you, Kenny Gabor, who's in my guide around the country for races. And you just have to rekindle. I mean, you recalibrate. When you're in GPS and you miss something, you recalibrate. And that's what it is in life. You recalibrate. So then in 2019, because let me backtrack. What was not great, but what I compromised with the stroke was I have physical impediments, but I have my wits. But like Noah's Ark, things come in pairs, right? So 2019, I start to seize. I'm in the parking lot of a Costco in Hackensack, New Jersey with my father. And all of a sudden I started having seizures. I've never had a seizure. And he flagged. So somehow we flagged down a cop and they rushed me in the hospital. They call ambulance. While in the hospital being treated with the seizures, I contracted a bacteria infection in my brain, which affects my short-term memory. So I can remember things from 30 years ago, but I might see you tonight and you introduce yourself, or I introduce myself and I get your name, and then we're in touch. I might forget your name 20 times, and then I finally sets in. So I recalibrate to answer the question with music there to help me.
Yeah.
And one thing to add on that, all I wanted to do every time, and Jeremy, you're part of this, all I want to do in the hospital bed both times is, man, I get out, go to a show. I get out in 2012 with the seizures and everything. You take me to Orion Festival to see Suicidal Metallica. And then 2019, there's a bash. So then I just start going to shows. I'm going to therapy, PT, OT, blood checkups, and I'm going to shows. And that's what's doing it. Now I'm sitting in the ADA section next to my man Kyle, and we're making it work.
Love you, brother. We hung out last night at Gorilla Biscuits and Straight A.
Yeah.
So, Jimmy, like, what's it like just being told you have cancer? And then there's all the things that go with it. Like, are you questioning, like, can I play music again? Like, all of these things that you must have had to look into or think about for the first time.
I didn't like it. So I guess it's a bullshit. And in part, the reason, so the funny thing was, when we shot the interview, I didn't have cancer. I dodged the bullet 3 times prior. Came back negative. Every time a biopsy, my numbers were going up. With biopsies kept coming back negative. So we did the interview. I didn't have cancer. That was February of 2025.
25 probably. Yeah.
4 months later, I got cancer. And now I'm trying to figure out how do I dodge a bullet 3 times before, and now my luck ran out. And I'm also trying to figure out what is this moving forward. And they tell you what your options are. And the one thing I was never a fan of is putting poison in to kill poison. I just didn't want to do that. But then I didn't think about how it would impact me in terms of my creativity. And it didn't. I worked even harder on this next record because I kept thinking about it in terms of it's not the last thing I'm going to do, but it's the most important thing I'm going to do. And just like the perspective that I was writing from shifted, because first it was just an angry record. Because fuck Trump and fuck the racism and fuck all the bullshit that's been going on around the world, the wars and all the bullshit. And I thought about the most important thing at the end of the day was love. Because for every fucked up situation that's ever happened, music has been the thing that's gotten everybody through it. Didn't matter what it was. But then I thought about love as it's probably the one thing, no matter what anybody's going through, they can relate to. And so I decided to just write from that place. And then once I decided to tackle the fucking cancer, it was like, okay, let me go ahead and knock this out and deal with whatever the recovery period would be. And I'm still recovering. So I've relearned patience because I thought I was patient before until I became a patient.
Did you think about that before you came in?
No, I didn't. That's on the fly. That's on the bar. I'll be selling shirts in the back.
That shit was good.
Seriously, but it was like, because all of a sudden, like my biggest problem was I didn't feel pain post-surgery. And I'm supposed to be doing nothing. And since I don't feel bad, I want to do everything. And I'm actually fucking myself up. Getting caught by my doctor because I'm laying in the snow, making snow angels during the snow files.
So he posted on Instagram and his doctor hits him up like, what did you do?
You talk about feeling like could have had no suffer, no dessert. How does my doctor see me on Instagram being in the snow?
Why isn't your doctor working? Why is he?
That too.
Because one of the assistants ran and said, why is he doing this?
To quote the late great Eddie, snitches get stitched.
For real, I was like, who's assistant? He wouldn't tell me. Now I was like, damn, I gotta scroll through all these people to find right now Instagram and shit. But the cancer thing changes you. It really does. As much as I thought it wasn't going to, and I stood on true Virgo, like, I will not be changed by this shit. Kaves was like, fuck you. Fuck your astrological sign. You're changed.
So Kaves, do you have like a daily routine at this point that you do, like that you start the day with to help you with this stuff? Or do you just use tools as this stuff rears its head, or is it a combination of both? Like, how do you work with it?
Meditation. I think I said it in the film. I guess I do something called TM and do about 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night, and it just kind of puts me at a base where I come back to self and stop worrying about all the things that we worry about every day.
Right.
I guess they say the artists worry a little bit more, but I can't help but think about my brother going through.
Yeah.
Like, so there's always new words. My brother, while this was going on, he came down with prostate cancer. And it's like this word you just keep hear about, it's enough to give anybody anxiety, right? You try and take care of your family, you're trying to be creative, you're trying to do all the things you have to do. Man, you have to stop a moment and be in the moment.
Yeah.
And right away, my brother's been an inspiration to me because he went right to the music. So back to your movie, like that's it was our way to cope since day one is to make music or paint or do something creative in that moment. But I seen him, prostate cancer, and he's young and but he went right to the studio and pour his heart out. So we're lucky as artists that we have an outlet, right?
Sir.
And then maybe we can inspire others. And I think that's what the movie, I guess, is about, right?
Yeah, that's what it is. And that it could be sort of anything, right? That, people, like what Stigma was talking about, like Bach and Beethoven, it's like, you think of that and it's like, no, like for me, I know if I feel anxiety, I want chaos in my head because that's what shoves the other stuff away. Something quiet to me is going to allow that stuff in. And I don't want that. I want, to be completely, like my head to be completely blown apart where I don't have any room for it. And that's what works, for me. Quick question, because we're running out of time. I got a quick.
I was going to say one quick point just to wave off of that, and then I know you got to get to it, is when I thought of the idea of the film, it was always because you think, when you think music and healing, you think like in Cuckoo's Nest, Powder Take the Pill is what, like the elevator music playing. And I was like, that's not what it is.
Just a music-related question for everybody. Jimmy, on down to the right. Favorite heavy record right now? It could be old. Right. I wish we had time to talk about how you can't relate to new music because it doesn't have that emotional attachment. But like, give me something like if you were feeling shitty about your condition that you put on right now.
If I was feeling shitty, I would probably put on Eye Against Eye.
It's a bad brains, in case you don't know. Have some. And Seth?
Probably Suicidal.
Shocking.
Or yeah, probably.
You put on Miley Cyrus, we know that.
Get salted for those hot rock. I'm a rocket Dreamweaver, right?
But in real time, just like you were.
It's so amazing. Everybody loves Job. Like nobody doesn't like it.
We were growing up. It was just good.
They called it just soft rock or AM Gold or
Actually, you know what it was called prior to that?
what was that?
Blue Eyed Soul.
Yeah. Well, that was what they referred to Hall & Oates as, right? Yeah. Which it's fucking racist. Anyway.
He said, when I go listen to Dreamweaver.
What you the other day that like you were left, I was like, oh my God, what a song. The Crowbar cover. Yeah. So for me, like there's a few, but if I had to pick one, there's two.
You better come back and kiss.
No, it wouldn't be Kiss because Kiss, I just sing along. It doesn't like rid me of, but probably Agnostic Front, Victim in Pain because it's 15 minutes long. So I have to listen to it 4 times to get through an hour. And it just, it happens quick. It gets rid of things for me fast. So that's good.
You know what? Okay, I have to add one more. And it's basically because of you. John Connolly's theory.
Oh, yeah.
Because the funny thing about John Connolly's theory was why it became John Connolly's theory.
Open the movie.
Yeah. So that's the first song that starts the movie off. But John was my guitar tech during the first 2 years of touring. And at every sound check, he would butcher Days It Confused. And I would go, dude, what the fuck are you doing? He goes, Days It Confused. I'm like, that's confused in Days. What is that? And he played wrong every day. And I'd be like, dude, no, don't do that. He goes, Shaf, I know what I'm doing. He just butchered it every day. And I sat there one day and I butchered it my damn self and it put Purple Haze into it and named it after him. But because I hadn't listened to it until you mentioned it about wanting to use it in the movie, I forgot just what it felt like initially. And then it reminded me of what it feels like now. And it's just like literally 1 minute and 59 seconds of fuck you. And I love it. Thank you.
Yes. So I wish we had time for questions, but we will be in the lobby if you want to ask us anything. But I do want to thank John and Night Hawk Cinema for having us. I want to thank Reelabilities. And as I mentioned, two things. Right around the corner at the exit, there's a QR code where you can vote and rate Heavy Healing on Rotten Tomatoes. So if you would please do that for us, that would be amazing. And then also, I've got a few hand-screened posters where we're going to donate the proceeds to Luke Kohler from Sick of It All's Sweet Relief Fund. Sadly, he's very sick again.
Yeah.
So the movie ended where he was 4 days removed from remission. And then 3 months later, he was actually sicker than he had been the first time. So wish to the poster real quick.
Didn't he want to wait?
He did.
Filmed until he was in remission?
Yes. So we have these, and they're numbered, and there was only 60 of them made. So if you want one, just hit me up in the back or in the lobby. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And thank you to those knocked out people. Thank the family that were here through the festival or word of mouth or however, osmosis. Thank you.
And don't the TSA and calling out for these, man. Ladies, don't feed them, don't fuck them. Tip them, get checked out.